Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SWW Show's movie podcast, Movie Club, where we are talking today about Gran Turismo based on a true story.
Yeah, okay. This is Mike here. I want to start with what I didn't realize until I started seeing it more is based on a true story, like its legal tagline.
It's the legal
Everywhere.
subtitle, yeah.
That's what I mean. Like it's everywhere. Like also I realized it the other day and I was like, the fuck? Is it really based on a true story? Like it's part of the name?
Honestly, it makes sense because like people know the name from the game. But having it be like, oh yeah, there's actually a story behind it makes it seems weird for us because we know the background behind GT Academy, or at least we have an idea.
So I'm gonna be objective. I think it's weird based upon like if any movie had that sometime. I don't see Shawshank Redemption based on a true story.
Well, the problem is like I said, Gran Turismo is a massive platform.
Yeah.
So like, and we've seen video game movies before. So if people were like, "Oh, it's just a video game movie," like that's not what it is. Like it barely has. I mean, it has stuff to do with the game, but you know, it's a story because of the game. It's not. It's not like Tomb Raider or Uncharted, where you know the movie is the game. It's like with this, it's Gran Turismo is kind of the set piece to the story itself. So.
Well, also I wanted to point out the thing that I texted you the other day because I wanted just to be like how I think it's pretty wild too. Is I feel like this is the first film that I truly thought in a while that I was legitimately seeing like highway billboards for. Like not in like city centers where I think it's a little more common. Like I mean like on the highway ones. So I'm very curious like Sony's marketing, and also I bet you because it's racing, I'm probably seeing advertisements probably a little more out of city centers than you probably would expect, just because racing tends to like be a more like rural and suburban thing.
Racing draws, man.
It does.
That's what people don't like to admit. Like, you know, yeah, okay, NASCAR's in kind of the doldrums right now. But dude, if we go back to 2005, I want people to, and thank God NASCAR did this. It's their 75th anniversary this year. They released a website that is the 75 greatest races in NASCAR history. Go pull up any race between 03 and 07. You'll see fully packed stadiums, fully packed infields, and I can guarantee you the numbers on TV were in the tens of millions of viewers.
Like I remember growing up, I don't know if it was the same, but like my dad every week would just have, every week would have like a race on. Like it was just a very common like it's like Saturday or Sunday, and like oh this NASCAR race on.
Yeah.
Like that was not an uncommon sight in the slightest. But yeah, we are here to discuss Gran Turismo based on a true story. I'm just gonna fucking say it. And so yeah, the film literally so it had some early releases in the US, started on August 11th. It formally came out on the 25th, but it was basically you could have seen it on the weekends before if you really wanted to. It looked like in both cities in the US. So that was a very interesting kind of thing. It has a budget of 60 million. We don't know the box office when we're talking, but it's currently tracking at 22 million this weekend. So it seems like this film will be successful, and honestly, that's not that big of a budget, which I was surprised by the 60 million budget. So
I was gonna say 60 million seems kind of cheap, but then again, like there's what 4 sets.
Sure, but you have Neil Blomkamp doing this. Like, he's half the budget.
Well, but Neil Blomkamp is the master of turning $1 into $100.
Yeah.
I mean, famously, District 9 has like a $25 million budget. It's a super small budget.
No, that is valid.
It's probably, I'd argue, the greatest original sci-fi movie in the past 40 years.
Do you think it's better than stuff like Independence Day?
Oh yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Because like with District 9, it is, he created a world. Like Independence Day was just, oh, there's aliens coming to, you know, the modern world. He literally went out there, created an alien race, created like relationships, and like went above and beyond to the point where it feels like as you're watching that, it's just you're in that world. Right? It's not Independence Day where, oh, hey, aliens are trying to invade Earth. It's, this is a world. This has been happening. Like I said, those relationships are established. You know, the pecking order is established. You don't need everything explained because context is great in that movie. Whereas this film might have some of the worst context that he's done.
So let's dig into it. We are here to talk about Grand Turismo. I'm going to just give AJ the floor because he said going to this, he needs to vent. AJ, tell us about your experience.
Right, so GT Academy started in 2013, okay? Actually, it might have been a little bit earlier than that. It started in Gran Turismo 5 on the PlayStation 3, okay? They're saying GT Academy started with GT7 on the PlayStation 5.
Okay, yeah.
Totally wrong. About
modernizing a story, I at least understand the logistical, like, cross-promotion reasons, but it is pretty funny.
About the only thing that is mildly correct, timeline-wise, is that the Academy did end up driving GTRs. That's the only thing. Because it was a cross-promotion between Nissan, Polyphony, and Sony to find, you know, a real racer in Jan and to promote the new GTR. So I guess kind of whenever the R35 came out is around when GT Academy was kicking off. So there's your one semblance of accuracy in this film, other than it being based on the actual person. Everything else is like, oh yeah, they're driving an R35 against like C8 Corvettes and Lambos and R8s and like all these brand new cars. And I'm like, no, this thing was... The reason they can make a movie is because Yan is like coaching now. Right? Like, he's done this whole process. It's been years. If they had done it properly and shown like, okay, well, they start with, you know, the 350Zs and then work their way up towards the GTR, because they didn't just go straight into a GTR. That would be insane. The average human being can't handle driving a GTR on the limit.
Handle the onboarding for that. Oh god. But so I'm gonna say the basic. I think I'm objectively more pro this film than you are, but you know what? I think this film is good because it's fun. I don't think this film is like it's one of the films that, like, when a non-scientist sees like a scientific film, we all go, "Oh, that makes sense," and every scientist's head hurts. I think that's what this film is.
Well, especially because, even bigger pet peeve, so the one track they get right is the Red Bull Ring. because it looks like they actually filmed at the Red Bull Ring. When they go to Le Mans, that is nothing like Le Mans. Like, it does not have hairpin turns leading to the front straight. It has 2 chicanes leading to the front straight. But it is not this weird, like, switchback that they needed for the movie, right? It honestly looks like they filmed that at Daytona. Or maybe somewhere in the UK, because I know there's several tracks that have a layout like that. But I was watching that and my brain was hurting because I'm like, no, that's not how this track goes. And as I'm sitting there and just like getting pulled out of, my immersion because of everything wrong, that was like the icing on the cake, right? Because that's the pivotal, like, that's how they win and get on, or they don't win, they pass the guy in the third to get on the podium. And it's like, no, he did make a dive bomb into the chicane, but I think that's even more of a cool thing. Like, maybe it's because they just couldn't film at Le Mans, which is possible.
I'll say that one. So I guess another thing of Le Mans specific. Obviously, the other big race film that I think there's a few big race films recently, but I think the obvious recent racing film of the last half decade is Ford versus Ferrari.
Yep.
How do you feel like that handled stuff like Le Mans comparatively to this?
They were smart. They did a lot of that stuff in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like, Le Mans has changed a lot since the 60s. Back in the 60s, the Mulsanne Straight was a straight. It was like, I forget exactly how long it was, but cars were getting to be approaching or exceeding 400 kilometers an hour on the back straight. And so they added the chicanes in there to kind of slow it down. They're still getting to be like 350, 360, but still, it's so that's changed. The chicanes weren't in there. Like, original Le Mans is very much akin to like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where there were basically 2 super long straights with some turns in between them. So, like, that stuff was easier for them to kind of fudge in Ford versus Ferrari because they did it in the dark. Or, they were just showing the front straight or the back straight.
With that one, yeah, you kind of play a little more with this. They're showing the race, yeah. It's also interesting too. Like, he did go. I don't know. Like, it is funny how like the whole like. How do you feel they handled that? Actually, the Le Mans part, and like obviously like the deaths and all that. Like, how do you feel that was handled? Kind of respectfully, obviously being a real thing that happened, or.
So I was really wondering if they were going to cover his crash at the ring. I'm glad they did, because that's the unfortunate reality, right? Like, they say it in the movie, right? Like, it was an accident. You can't be you can't have that weighing on your shoulders as the driver, right? Like
it's not something you did. You like, it's something technically your fault, but it's not like a thing that you like purposely did. It's like, it happens. You're driving hundreds of miles an hour, like.
Yeah, and I mean, like, so with that ring crash, his car did take flight and smash through the barrier. The problem with the Nürburgring that I think a lot of people don't realize, a couple things about it. One, it's a public highway. It's a toll road. And 2, it's fucking massive. It's like 30-something kilometers. So it gets into the sticks. So part of the problem was he crashed in an area where there wasn't safety equipment like readily available or easily available.
Mm-hmm.
So if I remember right, the spectator died because of their injuries. It wasn't like the cart immediately crushed him.
Okay.
So, and I mean, the trying to remember, like, it's that race is good for one spectator death every 2 to 3 years because of something like that. Because it's physically impossible, and by that I mean like the laws of physics don't allow you to catch those cars, like, and keep them in the track if they're going that fast. So there has been some talk of like maybe slowing the cars down or, you know, doing certain things, but that takes the sporting aspect out of it. If suddenly they can't run a fast car because they're being limited. So, yeah, I mean, racing has always had danger. It's part of the draw to motorsports, because there's always that potential that shit could hit the fan and someone not walk away. It sucks when it happens. Like, you hate to see it. I'm trying to remember, what was I watching where a spectator died recently, and it was like, you just it's tough to cover as well, right? It's like, how do you handle that as a broadcaster? Do you just come out and say it? Because if you do, that's a little weird and maybe disrespectful. Do you not say anything, in which case people could say, oh, well, you're trying to hide that someone was killed? Like, there's no winning from that point of view either. So, but yeah, I mean, and speaking of commentators, like, I know they had some big names come in and do voice work for it, but it just felt like, I remember the commentators being a little more warm to the idea of Jan when he was racing, not like just trying to rip his heart out and just bemoan him at every opportunity that he got. So the fact that the commentary was like 90% just shitting on him, and then, holy cow, they made it to the podium. It's like, you guys have spent the entire movie shitting on this dude, and then you try to save face. Like, I get that maybe that was the script, but it was just like, that's not.
Well, I gotta
from
ask,
what I remember,
I think it's a very valid critique of this film, and I'm kind of curious. And I think it's kind of one of the things I said, that I think it's an enjoyable film, but I think there was genuine problems. Is that, to me, one of the biggest things with this film is it feels like almost a film from like the 90s or 2000s, when like, this is like, of the Sony production films, I feel like it feels like the Wild compared to Twisted Metal. It feels like the least mature and least fleshed out. Because of the sense of, it feels like a caricature. And maybe it's this extra thing because it's this weird sense of like, it's a real story, but they have to make it. They know it's a game audience coming, like to make it more like that kind of gamey like moments. But I think that's the big thing to me. I see with this film, I go, not bad. But I think this film is what we were scared PlayStation Productions would be, almost.
I mean, I was fine with most of the film, other than the guy playing Yan, like, could not figure out how his face was supposed to work the entire film. The facial expressions were just weird, to say the least. But I mean, really, other than that, like, and the whole evading the cops using the UI, like, or having that as a UI thing, like, that was weird. But I think them handling, oh, they have the, they have the pip above the car, and it's the GT font, or they have the racing line, which I think, like, the fact that they did that helps explain to people that don't understand why he would do certain things. Like, why you would
also,
go to certain areas of the track.
The other thing I wanted to shout out too, which I think is funny, I didn't like read really a ton of reviews, I try not to for this stuff, but like I saw like a few like critics kind of talking about the film, and what I find interesting too is they were all talking about like commercial critics that are like, yeah, and this for a video game film, there's really not that many game references. Where everyone who knows video games is like, this film is just game references like the entire time.
Oh yeah. And
Which I think is really funny how like apparently that's subtle enough that only we caught it.
Yeah, I think the problem is the references are for the nerds. Right? Like, they're not for your typical fan base. Like, the him opening the Fanatec, which I'd have to look to throw this into even more of like time loopholes. I don't think that wheel was out when GT Academy started.
In this world when GT Academy started.
Yeah. I was looking at it going, I don't think that wheel was out, but I don't use Fanatec, so I don't know their system very well in terms of their history. So
it is funny because like I was thinking of like how they're using the modern GT and stuff like that in this. Would be like I think it also makes sense because it's really easy to explain to like an audience, kind of like, oh, they know what video games look like now. I like the idea though in my head that we took a PS3 GT and had to go to a general audience and be like, and we all thought this was realistic.
Well, I mean, I guess the problem is, right, like if you made this a true period piece
and
had it set in 2010 or 2013, whenever the actual GT Academy
thing was, yeah.
It's kind of tough to say that it's a period piece because not a ton of technology has changed.
A ton. I think you'd probably see the difference in like visual stuff. I bet you like in like equipment in the cars has probably changed a lot from a communication system. I don't think we had. You don't think? I do not think we had as clear as audio as we do now into those cars, or the camera feed, or like all that little stuff where it's like that does matter.
The camera feed stuff is a little new in terms of it being high def, but like 2010, yeah, I mean, they were tearing apart Bose pilot headsets and putting them in cars, so the audio was clear. Like that hasn't been a problem for a while. And yeah, I mean, like kind of the most recent thing in terms of camera technology is the prototype cars use a camera for their review mirror.
Right.
Because you can't see out the back of them.
Right.
But really, other than that, the major changes have been in safety stuff that you wouldn't be able to see. Or like aero or performance stuff. So but yeah, it was like, how do you... And I think it's funny because, right, he goes to Japan and he buys a Walkman that is from the era of when GT Academy started.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so hold on. This is a modern movie, but they're in Japan and they're buying technology that's like 10 years old.
I wish there probably was a little more clarity on the like timeline of this.
Yeah.
Of like either make it now, which I do think there's validity to like updating a story by a decade sometimes. Like you see this a lot of times in biopics, if it like makes sense for the narrative, as long as you get the trucks there. But like, I would just rather you be consistent, right? Either you're updating this for story reasons or you're not.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem, right, was, to me at least, okay, it's a modern story. Nissan is phasing out the GTR. They're phasing out the R35. and that's going to be your kind of second main character in this movie is that car. Which, funnily enough, like it's still raced to this day, the GTR, but it's so old at this point that it's kind of like a relic to see it in a race. So, like, from the reality aspect of there are R35s running against C8 Corvettes, but also I don't think there are any privateer C8 teams. So that was a little weird. Also, them just like essentially magic wanding away. Oh, you're going from a GT car to a prototype for Le Mans. And then just, oh yeah, Kappa happens to be doing the same exact thing. And you're just like, why did you not, why didn't you say that you were going to be running in prototypes?
Like going back to, as I said before, comparing to like Ford v Ferrari, I think that film did a better job of explaining, oh, we're in a different race. Oh, the car is a little different too, of like where this one is like, so where are we going? Like what like as a viewer, I think I'd just kind of view it all as the same, like basically as we view like different NASCAR tracks. Like I wouldn't notice anything shifted prior. If I wasn't paying enough attention.
Yeah. I wish they would have done the Delta Wing, because that was the dumbest thing ever, and they had to run it one year where it was like, it was a four-wheeled car, but it was basically a dick where the nose was super long and skinny, and then the back was like normal track width. It looks ridiculous. Go look it up if you want to see what I'm talking about. It's called the Delta Wing. And I don't know if Yan drove it, but GT Academy did drive it. It's ridiculous. It's the craziest thing. And I guess really, other than magic wanding it and saying, oh, well, you have to be in the top class. Which doesn't make sense, because they could have podiumed in the GT class. Like, that's the great thing about endurance racing, is it's multi-class. So you could have been like, oh, well, they may not have the talent for prototypes, so they can just run GTs and they can get on the podium. And then bam.
Yeah, like you really don't have to explain to someone how like race levels work, because like just pretend it's the biggest deal. You don't have to say it, but like just be like, it's one we care about.
Well, I think the problem would have been, how do you portray that to an audience that doesn't understand multi-class racing? Like, why is he in that car and there are other cars that are faster than him and he's not in that car?
It's not a good comparison. Explain it like how we explain to people how triathlon works, where like you're in different like they're different, like, but explain to them how each of those phases would be different people, kind of.
Well, the triathlon
like,
analogy would be
like, or I'd call this multiple races. Would be kind of the way I'd explain to someone. Be like, oh, really? What happens in this race is there are 3 races going on at once. All you care about is the car that matches you.
Yeah, I mean, a triathlon example would be like, they're all the same distance, but everyone's doing a different discipline. Like, it'd be like, oh, hey, this person is swimming the whole time, this person's riding a bike the whole time, and this person's running the whole time. Like, well, why? Well, that's just how it works.
Some of it you just have to go to people. It's how it works. That just is.
Yeah. The problem.
I'm not saying it's clean, but like I think it's the best way to do it.
I think the problem is, if you had made this movie pre-COVID, you could go in knowing the audience may not fully understand, but they could get it. Post-COVID, like, one dude was on his phone for basically the whole movie.
So, by the way, movie theaters, I know you're all short-staffed to flying fuck. I need some of you to, like, get the cattle prod, you see a cell phone, just go, like, doing what you gotta do.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, it's just ridiculous. Like, you have to explain everything 5 times because you know people aren't paying attention. Or, you know, hey, this is going to be on streaming. People are going to pause it. They're going to fall asleep. Like, I hate that we have to make movies now with audiences that have a 2-second attention span. You know, like,
well, the thing I hate is because I'm scared they're gonna win is you have the crazy people who are trying to convince movie theaters to put up subtitles or some shit like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fucking kill one of you if this happens.
I mean, there is some validity to having subtitles, like, not for every theater.
Because I am the most open ridiculous. To the idea that you could have, like, how we have, I think we have, at least some movie theaters do, like, I forget what they call them, like, sensory movie theaters where the idea is it's a little bit quieter and they keep the lights on for people with, like, autism and, like, stuff like that. If you want to have those types of screenings, I'm actually not as offended by it. I mean more like you have people who are just being like, I should go to any movie and get this. I'm like, no, you should not.
Everyone's got main character syndrome. Because they spent 2.5 years locked away in their own house.
I think that, to be fair, we're on this stage a second. That problem was already starting. It just accelerated the problem.
I mean, that problem definitely existed pre-COVID. The difference is everyone just called it out.
Right.
Because the vast majority of people were like, that's just stupid. Why, what, like, you know, why are you doing this? Post-COVID, it's just everyone is like, I want everything now. It's my world. You know, my algorithms tell me that I can do this. Everyone's just tunnel vision themselves into thinking that they're right all the time. So, yeah. Other than that, I mean, this, like, this movie is good, and I would recommend it to people. It's just the gripes that I have with it are because I know the story.
I feel like the less you know racing, the higher I can recommend this film.
I would say the less you know about the actual GT Academy, the better.
But like to me, I think this film is like one of those questionable with its not questionable, but like a little more shady with its history, but a fun watch. So it's like when I watch like a random like I put on a random biopic that I have no clue how fucking accurate this is. It's one of those where you're like, if it's a good movie, I still enjoy it for the movie, but I understand I'm not getting a history lesson out of this one.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Also, I just gotta say, the cast on this, while small, which I'm pretty sure is part of its budget, I gotta admit, so David Harbour is someone who has talked recently after Stranger Things he's going to be done with TV and just wants to go to film.
Yeah.
He's one of those people that I genuinely think when I see him, I go, I think he could play a lot of interesting characters. I think usually that rougher edge than previous seasons. But I do think he's going to be a very interesting actor to kind of keep an eye on kind of as he tries to venture more into some films.
Yeah, I just, you know, the problem for me is, and maybe it's because he's chosen these roles, but it's not like he's stretching himself with these roles.
Oh yeah, but I meant more like I think he's fun enough though. I think that's part of it too when I look at it.
Yeah, I mean it's not Dave Bautista having his first major film be Blade Runner 2042. You know. And then being in Dune. And then also that, what was it? Was it a Shyamalan movie that he was just in?
Knock at the Cabin?
Yeah. Whoever directed that, like it was a horror movie that was okay from what I heard.
I'm pretty sure. I think it's either produced by Shyamalan or written by him.
Yeah. Anyway, so
directed.
Okay, yeah.
It's a Shyamalan film.
You know, so he's tested himself with different styles.
Mm-hmm.
David Harbour just seems to be David Harbour.
And I think that is a very valid critique. I also do generally think there is a point sometimes for actors like that. Like we all have a character actor that we go, we know what he like. Good example. If I see someone like, okay, that works too. I was going like Joe Pesci. If I see Joe Pesci in a film, I mean we know what Joe Pesci is.
Yeah.
No one is looking at Joe Pesci for a unique, insightful experience in a rom-com. No, that's not what we're here for. Like, we're here for being an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, so that's what they said. Also, Orlando Bloom,
yes.
Like, he's not in this, but in the advertising, he looks so much like maybe a bit of this, he looks so much like a cartoon villain, it's not even funny at points.
Well, and that's the funny thing, right? Like, they have that, what was the scene where he's like, are you sure this is the guy we want? You know, going wholly against the whole idea of what the program is for. He's like, we want someone that's good in front of the camera. And I'm like, no, you don't. You want the best racer, right? And then it's like, well, but he's only like 1,000th off. And you're just like, that doesn't matter. You know, it's still that idea of, you know, it's the problem that McLaren ran into with World's Fastest Gamer. That felt staged at times. Like, a lot of that contest felt like, okay, they picked the guys that they wanted and, you know, knew that they could media train them or already had some media training. Right, like, you know, maybe they were streamers or maybe they were something else, you know. And, you know, so they didn't, like, I don't think any of their graduates have really panned out from the World's Fastest Gamer.
No.
Also, the fact that Yan did all of his stunt driving is incredible.
Yeah, no,
like,
so
it's great that they're like, hey, we're making a movie about you. You want to do the stunt driving? Like,
yeah, no, that
absolutely.
Yeah, right, especially for him, he's like, the stunt driving, I'm assuming a lot of times probably easier than actual races.
That's the funny thing. It isn't always, because they're like, okay, well, we need you to do this.
She just did the camera shots. Fuck yeah, because because a lot of stuff like a lot of cool shit happens on accident. It's really hard to do cool shit on purpose.
Yeah.
Like the infamous film one that I think everyone points to, right, is the Spider-Man one where Tobey Maguire actually had to catch all that shit, and like it took hundreds of takes because like they're like, fuck, we just gotta keep trying. And I'm wondering how much with the racing they probably had to be like, we missed the like the turn right there. Try again.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's super tough. So, because you're like, okay, well, we need you to go on this line. And they can tell you, and he can make it happen. But it'll be like, oh, well, you know, focus wasn't pulled right, or
even the speed you're going, the camera maybe like hit it at the wrong time, the click, like all that little stuff. We're like,
you know, you were 2 miles an hour too fast into this corner. You're like, okay,
we missed our cue on our end, and now we gotta do it again.
That's. Yeah, like, that would be tough. I do not envy the guys that have to do stunt driving in racing films. Guys doing stunt driving in every other film, seems like the greatest job in the world.
They close like a street view, and you're like the only car with them, and you just have a few cars chasing you with cameras. You're like, I have the fucking best job in the world.
But yeah, so it was cool to see that they did that. I can't believe they found an actor that's actually taller than him. I was like, I know he was tall. He was like 6'2" or 6'3", I think, in the competition. So, which is really tall for a racing driver. But the guy that played him is like 6'4". So it accentuates that even more. And I'm just like, you know, it was just funny to watch some of the interactions where like they clearly got people that were actors in actor heights, and then they're like, okay, we need an actor that's 6'4", 6'5", to just accentuate the height difference. But yeah, like I said earlier, it's a movie I would recommend to a lot of people. It was fun when you take out the inaccuracies. And the nice thing is the inaccuracies don't diminish the film.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you know what they're supposed to be, and you're like, well, that's not what it should be. But you know, all of the changes they had to make, you could understand why they made them. Except for the time setting. I was like, why don't you just set it back in 2013? It would have been way cooler. But yeah.
That is Grand Turismo. Go check it out in a local cinema near you. And we will see what's next from PlayStation Productions. I'll be very curious, kind of. Also, if the damn strikes ever end, if we ever get new films.
Yeah.
How long until we have to do the COVID stuff, or you just start finding old films because we're out of new stuff?
Well, we're gonna find out. Maybe we'll start watching some indie films.
It might happen. Yeah, we will catch you guys next time. This episode is partially brought to you by the Humble Choice program. Did you know Humble Bundle has a great monthly subscription service that lets you get a ton of video games every single month? That's right, from plans range from $5 to $20 a month, you get a hold of a bunch of free games they have available to you. And you could use our code down in the description below to go and sign up. It would help our podcast and help you see what great games are available for you this month. The SW Show and all of its affiliate podcasts are podcast by me, Mike Maroney, and AJ Losi, sometimes by our contributors, including Corey King. You can follow the SWW Show on social media at the SWW Show, or sooner or later you go to patreon.com/SWW to help us out. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.